Today, you can meet people who have never used the internet or a mobile phone. You can even find people who cannot read or write. This is rare, but true. But at the same time, it is difficult to find someone who has not at least ever worn Adidas clothes or shoes, and even more so, who has never heard of this brand. And this is not surprising because the German brand today is one of the leaders among sportswear brands. The company produces clothing, shoes, and accessories not only for sports, but also for everyday life. Today, Adidas owns companies such as Reebok, Rockport CCM, and TaylorMade Golf. But where did this company come from? Who invented it? Where did it all begin? And how was it able to become one of the most recognizable brands in the whole world? This is what we will talk about today. Adidas was officially founded in 1949, but its history began long before that. Adolf Dassler was born into a poor family on November 3, 1900, in a small town in Bavaria. His father was an ordinary shoemaker, and his mother was a laundress in a local laundry. Since there were no great prospects, Adolf helped his father from a young age, and soon became a shoemaker himself. The family lived extremely poorly. There was barely enough money to make ends meet, so in 1920, the Dassler family decided to organize their own shoemaking business. The management of the company was taken over by Adolf Dassler. At that time, he was only 20 years old, who was soon joined by his brother Rudolf. Their friends called them Adi and Rudi. The small shoe factory of the Dassler brothers, if it could be called a factory, was engaged in the production of orthopedic shoes for athletes and slippers, located in a small laundry room where their mother worked. The business grew little by little. Slippers were in demand, but it was just another small workshop for the production of shoes, of which there were several hundred at that time in Germany alone. Perhaps someone would be content with what they have, but Adolf was obsessed with the development of the company. After going through many experiments, which often ended in failure, he managed to create a product that at that time was a breakthrough in the shoe business. In 1925, Adolf created the world's first boots with studded soles, which a year later became the main product of the factory. His partners were ordinary blacksmiths, the Serious brothers, who made the very spikes for the soles of their workshop. The demand for the Dassler brothers' shoes grew every day, which led to the purchase of their own factory building. In 1928, together with Joseph Beitzer, the Dasslers developed and patented a new model of studded shoes, which truly made the factory famous. But how do you get your shoes to be worn? That's right. We just need to give it to all athletes. At the 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin, American runner Jesse Owens won 4 gold medals and set 5 world records wearing Dassler shoes. The Dassler brothers' trademark 2 stripes appeared on Owens' shoes for the first time. After this event, many athletes chose the brand's boots for their performances at the Olympics, and all thanks to innovative solutions at that time. Who would have thought that all you need to do is just screw the spikes to the sole, and that would be enough to make you the talk of the whole world? At the end of the 1930s, sales of the Dassler factory exceeded 400,000 German marks, or $100,000, and in 1938, a second Dassler factory opened. In total, their enterprise produced thousands of pairs of shoes every day. Sales grew at an extraordinary rate until the Second World War. But despite the fact that both Dassler brothers were staunch members of the Nazi Party, the Dassler factories were confiscated by the Nazis, and the brothers themselves were sent to the front. At one of the factories, the Nazis even tried to establish the production of handheld, anti-tank grenade launchers, but the factory equipment was not suitable for such production, so Adolf was returned from the army a year later to produce training shoes for German soldiers. At the end of World War II, the Bavarian town of Herzogenaurach, where 2 of the brothers' factories were located, fell into the American zone of occupation. The eldest, Rudolf, was accused of belonging to the elite Nazi troops of the SS and sent to a prisoner of war camp. Adolf was also a member of the Nazi Party, but as an indemnity, he sewed hockey skates for delivery to the United States. This is what saved his position, and the business in general. In 1946, after the occupation, Rudolf returned to the family business. The brothers began producing shoes again, but given the current situation in Germany in the post-war period, the lack of raw materials and problems with international markets, led to some degree of isolation. They make a rather controversial, but at the same time, the only correct decision. They begin producing shoes from leftover military uniforms. Entrance went absolutely everything. However, different worldviews and visions for the further development of the company increasingly led to a quarrel between the two brothers. Working together could no longer continue as before, and this prompted them to divide all assets. Soon after the death of their father, the brothers separated. Rudolf took the new factory, Adolf the old one. They agreed never to use the name as symbols of the family business. One called his company Adidas, and Rudi called his Ruda. But after a few months, Adidas turned into Adidas, short for Adolf Dassler, a Ruda in Puma. This is how the world-famous Dassler brand at that time ceased to exist. And in fact, the new brands Adidas and Puma, which we all know now, were born. The brothers themselves remained silent until the end of their days about the reasons for their quarrel. But what is most surprising, after the collapse of the family business, the brothers did not speak to each other for the rest of their lives, and Puma and Adidas became each other's fiercest competitors. Adolf's company quickly gained popularity. High quality and innovation have helped Adidas become one of the premier sports brands. On August 18, 1949, Adolf took 2 stripes from the Dassler emblem, added a third to them, and patented the resulting Adidas symbol. Since 1952, the company began to produce other products under the Adidas brand. The first attempts to diversify the assortment were the production of sports bags, and although shoes remained the main product, Adolf was looking for a partner who would take over the production of clothing. It was the owner of the textile factory, Willy Selten Reich, to whom Adi ordered 1,000 tracksuits with 3 stripes along the sleeves. The products sold like hotcakes, and the partners liked each other so much that Selten Reich soon began to live only for Adidas. At the 1954 FIFA World Cup in Bern, wearing Adidas, the German national football team became world champions for the first time. This was facilitated by another innovation from Adidas, removable studs on the boots. Shortly after this victory, sales of Adidas boots increased from 800 pairs to 2,000 pairs per day. And in 1956, Adidas even received official permission to advertise at the Olympic Games in Melbourne. Also this year, Adidas signed the first licensing agreement with the Norwegian factory in Jorvik, and soon Adidas will begin to be produced in France. In the late 1950s, Adidas entered the US market, taking advantage of the growing popularity of the sport and the absence of serious competitors at that time. By the end of the 1970s, the company already owned 24 factories in 17 countries. She sold about 200,000 pairs of shoes a day, as well as clothes, swords, and bags. In 1970, the Adidas Telstar ball became the official ball of the World Cup held in Mexico. In 1972, Adidas became the title sponsor of the Olympic Games in Munich, and the German national team became the European football champion. This year, the company's famous trefoil appeared. 3 leaves indicate the company's presence on 3 world continents. In 1974, German football players wearing Adidas boots became world champions for the second time. And at the Olympic Games, 76 athletes wearing Adidas won 75 gold, 86 silver, and 88 bronze medals. By the way, this record has not yet been broken. On September 6, 1978, at the age of 77, Adolf left this world. The management of the company passed to his widow, Katharina. With the death of the founder, the most severe crisis begins in the company, caused primarily by the emergence of serious competitors. Nike and Reebok in the 80s began aggressive advertising campaigns in North America. At the end of the decade, they accounted for 50% of the sports shoe market in the United States, while for Adidas has dropped to a critical 3%. The heirs of Adolf Dassler did not stay long at the head of the company. In 1984, Katharina died, and in 1987, Horst Dassler, the son of Adolf and Katharina, also died, barely keeping up with the influx of the enterprise. In 1989, the remaining heirs sold for only $440 million to French entrepreneur Bernard Tapie, then owner of the French football club Olympique Marseille, leaving themselves with only 20% of the company's shares at a time when Adidas was on the verge of disaster. Interest in the brand quickly faded, and the championship among sports companies was already shared between Nike and Reebok. However, the new owner was unable to improve the company's position. In 1993, he sold Adidas, and a few years later, he himself was declared bankrupt. The company's new buyers were a group of French investors who appointed Robert Louis Dreyfus as the head of Adidas. Under his leadership, the reorganization of the company began. The marketing budget was significantly increased, and production began to move to Indonesia, China, and Thailand. Savings on cheap labor in third-world countries again made products competitive in the world market. Already in 1995, profits more than doubled compared to 1994. In 1997, the French company Salomon Sports, a leading manufacturer of winter sports products, was purchased. Until 2005, the concern was called Adidas Salomon. This move allowed the film to become the world's second-largest sports goods manufacturer after Nike, increasing sales by 1.5 times, especially in the United States. In 1999, to mark the company's 50th anniversary, construction began on a new headquarters, and representative offices were opened in Japan, Turkey, and the Netherlands. In 2001, the formation of its own retail network began. The first 2 stores of the Adidas Originals chain were opened in Berlin and Tokyo in 2001, in 2002 in New York. In 2005, Adidas sold the company to Salomon Sports, and with the proceeds in August 2005, Adidas bought 100% of the shares of its competitor, Reebok International Ltd, for $3.8 billion. It was this takeover that allowed Adidas to increase its share of the company's most important American sporting goods market to 20% and get as close as possible to market leader Nike, which controls 35%. Today, to the surprise of many, Adidas has only 2 of its own small factories, one in Germany and one in the USA, and all products are made to order in 290 different factories. Of these, 71% are in Asia, 18% in the Americas, 6% in Africa, and 5% in Europe. In terms of footwear production, 97% of products are made in Asia, including Vietnam, Indonesia, and China. Finally, in 2018, the company employed 57,000 people. The company's average turnover is $24 billion per year, and its net profit is almost $2 billion annually. Adidas is the largest sponsor of sports teams of the most famous athletes around the world. Several times, a beloved brand could simply disappear, go bankrupt, and become history. Adolf Dassler always put commercial success in second place. The first was his insatiable love for sports. He was a very active person. At the age of 75, he still played tennis and swam in the pool. One of his hobbies was designing shoes. He personally owns many inventions, in particular football boots with replaceable studs, and he was involved in the affairs of the company until his death. The path to success was thorny and long. It was thanks to Adolf Dassler, an ordinary boy shoemaker from a provincial town, that this giant of global scale was born. Friends, what is your personal favorite sportswear brand and why? Be sure to share your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, where there will be many more new and interesting videos. Adidas uses Israeli manufacturer Delta Galil to produce its line of underwear. Don't buy Adidas products. Don't sell Adidas products. Don't work for Adidas. Friends, perhaps that's all for today. Write your opinion in the comments about this amazing story. Also rate the video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll go make the next video. See you soon.